Welcome everyone. Welcome to episode 13 of the MTL Sports Podcast. We are recording after a very good Miami Game 7 victory. So today we will, do a little recap of the last three games since we did a little mid-round recap. And we will also preview the NBA Finals, Nuggets versus Heat. Who will win? We will soon find out from our predictions. After that, we will finish our NFL way too early power rankings. This is the end of the ladder. We got teams 21 through 32, and of course we're gonna finish with rapid fire. So stay tuned, y'all. All right, let's kick it off. We had really big game last night. Pretty much the penultimate game of the season. Basically, we had Game 7, Celtics versus Miami in Boston, TD Garden. As you guys are well aware, Miami won that game in blowout fashion. I think it was a 20-point victory. So just recapping the last three games, I know we left off about 2 episodes ago saying there probably wasn't going to be basketball past that Game 4, but yeah, we got a 7-game series out of the conference finals, at least for one of the conferences. So Lawrence, I'm gonna hand it off to you first. Our predictions were wrong on that day, so tell me about the last three games. What did you take away from both sides, Miami and Boston?
Well, Boston did a great job leading a campaign. They said, "Don't let us have one," and then they scared the crap out of them. I think the Heat did a really good job making sure they didn't become a meme, because they would never live that down. We all make fun of the Atlanta Falcons for the 28-3. That's almost as bad as 28-3.
That's worse, I feel like.
I don't know if we can say it's worse because the Boston Red Sox beat the Yankees from a 3-0 deficit. I understand that's baseball, but
yeah,
it doesn't really matter to me. I mean, a comeback's a comeback. But I think they did a great job of making sure they didn't become a meme. I just think the main problem with letting it happen the way they did is you've allowed the Nuggets to basically watch you guys play for 4 straight games, and they've seen the way you're going to change up your team and tactic-wise change up your team for 4 straight games. I get it. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't matter too much because you can look back at film of their series and everything, but they swept the Lakers, who were probably one of the hottest teams. And they absolutely dominated and smashed them for the most part. So I think the Heat did an amazing job making sure they did not give up, everything. I kind of thought it was going to be the Heat in the 6. As soon as they lost that Game 4, I was like, it's just going to be Heat in 6. They're going to win it at home. They almost won it at home. Derek White saved the career of multiple Celtics, but there's another thing that can be said about that as well is, what are you going to do with this Celtics team after that catastrophic start, comeback, and then pitiful ending? I say you blow up. I say you blow it up. Blow it up.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot you can do, but
blow it up.
Well, I'm all for blowing it up, but I think we gotta take the emotion out of it. I guess as fans, it's kind of hard to because you're like, oh man, it's my team, and then I guess from the executives' point of view, they definitely got to take the emotion out of it because they're the ones making the decisions. They're the ones handing out these checks, and the paydays for these guys only keep going up. So we'll see what they do. But my main takeaway is Miami should have won in 6. That was just a weird but really good play by Derek White. I feel like Spoelstra worded it perfectly when he was just like, we did everything we could. We did everything that we game planned for coming out that timeout, and just somehow the ball just didn't bounce our way. Could Max Strus have boxed out? Yeah, but I understand that maybe, hey, they didn't think there was going to be enough time on the clock for someone to do a tip in. So we Miami made up for it by winning Game 7. They won it in convincing fashion. And a lot of people are saying, oh, well, we don't know that because Tatum got hurt, turned his ankle on the first play. I mean, he's part of your main engine, but your other guy, Jaylen Brown, just played awful. He had as many turnovers as field goals. And the rest of the team wasn't too hot besides Derek White. I mean, he was basically keeping them in the game for the most part. So I don't think there can be any excuses, especially when if you get hurt and you're still out there on the floor, on the basketball floor, if you're still out there on the football field, like I feel like at that point there's no excuses. So yeah, Miami probably should have won in 6 games, 4 and 5. They weren't aberrations. I don't feel like, but I think that's how the Celtics truly play. Right? They love shooting the three. In games 4 and 5, they got hot from 3. Miami just couldn't do anything. Nothing really worked. The zone wasn't really working as well as they would have liked to. They were just making tough threes. A lot of them were open. But Celtics are live and die by the 3, and I feel like that's part of the conversation this offseason is, does Joe come back? And we'll talk about this, when we go over the the grading series. But does Joe come back? And if he does come back, like, do you make him like change up his philosophy? Because you can't shoot like 51 threes and like only make. I'm pretty sure like the other night they only made like 7. Like that's not, you can't do that. And when you miss your first 12, as a coach, you don't say go shoot more. You should have game planned or come up with some type of plays or some sets to get your guys some easier mid-range to elbow jumpers or post ups or something, How
I
do you
mean,
feel?
I feel the same way. It just kind of lacked that there was any kind of paint presence for the Celtics. And I get it. It's like, if we just keep shooting them, eventually they'll go in. But maybe it's a lot easier just to make closer range baskets to get your confidence up. I mean, you see it in the NFL all the time where they start dinking and dunking it down the field. They run the 2-minute drill just to get some spark back in the offense for the next drive. I mean, crap, just do that in the NBA. It's not that hard. Just instead of trying to waste 14 to 20 seconds off the clock every time, like do a 7-second drill. Try to score the ball in 7 seconds and get the Heat off pace that they're setting. Because in that game 7, they were setting the pace because they were just contesting the Celtics to shoot bad threes, and it worked out. And instead of just trying to run a 7-second offense in which you get the ball moving really quickly and have 2 guys running at the lane at the same time, and then one of them's going to be open because you can't guard 2 of them, it seemed very weak. I mean, I saw this meme. It wasn't even a meme. I saw this thing about like how Boston sports has it so bad in like the last like 12 or 13 years. You just look at it and you're like, they won a World Series.
That was it.
They've won. No, I'm sorry. It's the last 20 years. Boston sports has it so bad, and they're showing all these losses and like that these teams have had in the postseason, and it's like, dude, you've won 6 Super Bowls. Um, you've won 2 World Series. You've won a Stanley Cup. Dude, like you've won 2 NBA Finals. Like, what more do you need? It's like it's not that deep. It's like it's okay to get really far and not get to the end. Like people don't understand that. It's like, yes, it sucks, but at least you made it further. Like think of the other 29 sports teams. They're just sitting, or fans, they're just sitting at home watching this. It's like, at least you made it further than they did.
Yeah, but
There's so many cities that wish their teams would make the playoffs or postseasons.
yeah.
They
Well,
can't even do that.
don't you think it's disappointing though when you were when you were like pegged the favorite. Plus, everyone said you were pretty much the consensus. Like they were the better team, better talent. You mean you had two All NBA guys, one on the first team, one on the second team. You had a former Defensive Player of the Year. You had a couple guys on the All Defensive team. Like, isn't that? I feel pain. I feel the Boston fans like pain, but at the same time, you're right. You know.
I don't feel the pain for the Celtics because you made it to the conference finals. I
Yeah.
mean, the Boston Bruins in hockey were the best team in NHL by a landslide, and they lost in the first round.
Yeah.
That's way more pathetic and embarrassing than losing in the conference finals in Game 7. Now, maybe the fact that you were down 3-0 is more embarrassing and pathetic, but you still lost in a Game 7 conference final. Comparatively, Game 7, actually, no, I think they only played 6. No, they played 7 games. 7-game series in the first round to a team that barely made the playoffs. Yeah, you lost in Game 7, to the team that's making the NBA Finals. Same thing that NHL did for the Bruins did because the Florida Panthers made the playoff or made the Stanley Cup. But if we're comparing sports teams in the same city, I'm kind of bragging. It's like, oh shit. I mean, I made the conference finals. What'd you do? You lost freaking first round. You had the most points scored in a season. Like hockey has like points, like how they like you get 3 points for a win, etc. You had the most
Yeah.
points in a season. You were one of the greatest NHL teams of all time in terms of what you did on the court, or sorry, you did on the ice, and you lost in the
Nice.
first round. So, I mean, yeah, you can cry about it, or you can laugh at your neighbor and say, I mean, I did better than you though. So there's two ways to look at it. I mean, I can wallow in self pity or realize, it's great to even make it that far. So
That's true because, like you said, not everyone's team gets that far. At the end of the day, when you get to the conference finals, there's only 4 teams left. So, to be honest, just be lucky your team got there and just move on.
yeah,
Just for
at least you're not a Lakers fan. Your team got there and got swept. I mean, shit.
could be worse. So moving on, a little quick recap of the Eastern Conference Finals. We got the 8th seed Miami making their way to the finals, the first 8th seed since I think the Knicks back in 1999, versus the Denver Nuggets, the number 1 seed in the West. How do we think this is going to play out? What are the mismatches for both sides? What are the advantages for both sides? And give me your serious prediction. How many games?
I don't think you want me to talk. I might hurt your
No,
feelings.
go ahead and talk so I can rebuttal and just maybe you'll see the light.
It's Nuggets in 5.
Okay.
I'm not. I think the Nuggets are gonna look really, really, really good against them. I mean, no offense, but besides Jimmy Butler, your best player on your team is Kyle Lowry. He's old and
That's not true,
not the
but
best. No, Skip, I am talking Skip. All right, don't make me get my due out on you. All right,
who was the guy that got 4 votes for the Larry Bird Trophy last night?
I don't know.
You do
Jimmy Butler.
know. No, not the guy that won it.
All
The
I
guy
know
that had
is
26 points.
Caleb Martin.
Yes.
Yeah, I know. Okay, he showed up in one series. I'm not impressed. Anyways, back on my tangent. I was about to bring him up, but then you had to rudely interrupt me.
Okay.
Literally miniature Skip Bayless right here. So unprofessional. Anywho, I was gonna say, your second best player is Kyle Lowry, who comes off the bench, and he does everything you're asking him to do off the bench. Your second best player on the starting unit, I guess, would be Caleb Martin, who didn't start until this series, right? Am I correct on saying that? I don't
Yeah.
think he started the last series. I guess you do get to have the fact that at some point this series, whether he's fully ready or not, You're gonna bring little hero back. Little hero action might come back, but they're gonna rush him back. But how good is he gonna be coming back? Who knows? He's gonna
Looks
be
nice.
100%.
Oh yeah.
However, Caleb Martin, I just think he's gonna lose some of his dominant ability in this series. I mean, his matchup will be Aaron Gordon, who's a defensive threat, obviously. So I think Aaron Gordon can nullify him a little bit. KCP's got one job and one job only, and that's make Jimmy Butler's life a living hell and pester him to the utmost uh, possibilities. So your team's going to be rolling out there hoping that Gabe Vincent and Kyle Lowry can pull a lot of the weight on your team because certain pieces are going to be tested hard. And notice I've done this on purpose that I haven't brought up Bam because does he even play? I can't even tell. He's just so bad in this
Fair.
last series. I mean, just so bad. And then now he's going to go against Jokic, which, I mean, if you are going to be that bad against three-time MVP, it should have been Jokic. Maybe you're going to have to get the Jovic off the bench for you guys and hope for the best and see if he can magically become Jokic overnight, because that might be your only hope.
He's too young.
He's got the name for it. He's got the skin for it. So
Okay, is that your prediction?
y'all are just gonna get smashed.
Okay.
And I think it's gonna be 5 games. I think you guys win game 3.
Okay.
And then everyone's like, okay, this is a series now. And they get smashed. I think Jokic is going to put up a 50 bomb.
Okay. I see where you're coming from. I kind of respect what you have to say. No, we will not get smashed. All right. Number 1. Number 2, our second best player probably right now is Caleb Martin. Third is then probably Bam.
No. He got out rebounded by Caleb Martin. You can't say it's Bam.
He had 10 rebounds last night. What are you talking about?
Caleb Martin had like 9.
I said he had 10.
Who?
Bam.
Yeah, well, Caleb Martin had like 9.
Bam had 10. Martin had 10 as well.
Okay. So Bam. No, dude, Bam's bad. That was bad.
Yeah, I will say this. Bam has had trouble for whatever reason against the Celtics. Like Bam he just disappears. I don't know what it is. Like the man is scared of like a 36-year-old freaking pastor. That all he wants to do is just play basketball and then after the game go preach to his church. Like he misses or like doesn't show face against that guy. And then Robert Williams, who falls for any and every pump fake. So I don't know what's going on there, but I feel like it'll be an interesting matchup. I feel like for both sides, yes, you got the Nuggets. They're the more talented team, I would say. I think the Nuggets showed during the regular season I would say their starting lineup's top 5, probably more like top 3 starting lineup of the NBA. I mean, you have the 2 big guns, Murray, Jokic. Murray looks good coming off of the ACL surgery. Jokic probably should have been the MVP again. Then you got KCP, like you said, his job is to play defense, hit some timely threes. You got Aaron Gordon, big, tall, athletic, can play defense. And who are we missing? Who's a shooting guard? MPG. I'm not too worried about him. He can just shoot. All he does is shoot from 3, and he doesn't know any other shot. Like the man, if there's a layup, he will like take 3 steps back and hit a 3-pointer. So I'm not too worried about him. But that starting lineup looks really good. Of course, Jokic is going to most likely have his way. We'll see how Bam handles that matchup. Because I feel like it's mismatches for both sides, right? Bam is going to be more on the move with the pick and roll. They're going to have Jokic in pick and roll action, trying to pick them apart. because he's not a good defender, not a good rim defender. They're gonna have Bam on the move, try to get him some easy baskets or at least some easy playmaking opportunities. Um, I don't know. I feel like I have Heat in the series. I'm debating if I should say 6 or 7. I'm leaning more towards 7 after seeing this past series. I'm pretty sure I had Heat in 6 last. I think we both had Heat in 6 against the Celtics. Um, I'll have to go back and put the clip in this video, but yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm leaning more towards Heat and 7. I feel like if all role players keep playing as well as they have been, the Gabe Vincents, the Duncan Robinsons, he's been huge off the bench, and he's been putting the ball on the back, like on the floor, like he's been going to the basket, putting his head down, getting some easy buckets. That's like kind of boosting his confidence when he does go and shoot his threes. He's making more of them, becoming that threat that we need him to be instead of just being a no show like Bam. Definitely gonna need Bam to show up. Definitely gonna need our guy Jimmy to show up. Jimmy can't we can't afford or not we, but Miami can't afford to have Jimmy not show up for like 2 games. Like he needs to show up every single game. Like yeah, you're gonna have a bad game, and that's expected, right? Every good player, great player has a bad game.
He doesn't
But
get to have a bad game.
but Jimmy can't have like 2, and they can't be consecutive. Like one bad game, that's it. If he doesn't show up for more than one game, then it's cooked. Miami's not winning the series. So I got Heat in 7. And in terms, if we look at the matchups here, in terms of like regular season stats and stuff, Nuggets 53-29. Offensive rating was 5th at 116. Defensive rating was middle of the pack, 113. Net rating was 6 overall. Those are good stats, but if you watch them like probably like February to March, that was like their peak. Because after March, it kind of like fell off, and
Because they didn't care.
man, that's how Jokic pretty much lost his MVP. We all know about Miami, 8th seed. Offensive rating was poor, 25th at 112. Defensive rating was 9th at 112. Negative net rating, which was, I think this is the first time a team with a negative net rating has made the finals since like the 57 or 59 Lakers, which is crazy. Yeah, we'll see. Miami apparently hasn't won a game in Denver since like 2016. So both
Miami,
team both teams were different back then, but I don't think we have like anything we can really base them off of, because like the 2 games this season have been kind of just like anomalies. Like one game Murray didn't play, and the other one Murray was just coming back. So
so the
we don't.
last 6 games between the Nuggets and the Heat, the Nuggets have won all 6 games. In 2020 to 2021 season, the Nuggets blew them out twice. 2021-2022 season, the Nuggets blew them out twice. And then while missing pieces, the Nuggets still beat them twice. And there's not much to say because the Heat and the Nuggets haven't had too much changes in their rosters between the last 3 years. They've kind of been built up the same way. Maybe different guys here and there, but for the most part, the same
Different guys.
stars.
No, the Nuggets in the bubble were they didn't have KCP, didn't have Bruce Brown.
Well, I just said different role players. I did just admit that.
Okay.
I was going to bring that up, since you want to be a little Skip Bayless. I mean, just keep it trying to tag me when I'm trying to make my points. I was going to say KCP and Bruce Brown are different, and that's kind of why they won this season without Jamal Murray. And I think that's the one thing that no one's even taking in consideration at all when playing this Nuggets team is straight up KCP is different in the playoffs. Like you just said, you're like, oh, we're not worried about Michael Porter Jr. Okay, but your problem is KCP plays extremely good defense, and he'll play extremely good defense on Butler. And then the problem will end up being that Butler's not going to play defense on KCP. Butler's going to play defense on like Murray.
Yeah.
And the problem with that is Gabe Vincent's going to play defense on KCP, and KCP's going to dunk all over the little man.
Nah.
Yes.
Miami's gonna run zone for I would say half of the Nuggets possessions they're going to see that zone. I feel like they're going to want to keep Jokic out the paint. They don't want him going 1-on-1 on Bam, and then get Bam into foul trouble, and then we have to play Zeller or Kevin Love at the center.
You can't
that's
play
just
Kevin
not.
Love. He's gone.
He's there. He just didn't play because he's old and slow.
Well, why would you want him to play in the finals if he's old and slow?
I mean, you need veteran presence and you need size. You can't match up how the Miami match up against the Celtics. Celtics like to play small, so it worked in the Heat's favor to go small. You could get away with playing Martin at the 4, but against the Nuggets, like Kevin Love's probably going to go back into the starting lineup, and then you're just going to run zone and just have like Love on like the short side on the bottom, so he doesn't have to run out too far.
Now you're making it sound like Aaron Gordon's going to eat up this series. We haven't seen him eat up yet this postseason.
He ate one game last series
because they don't need him to eat. They got everyone else eating. Okay. I think you're the problem with the Nuggets is they just have too much talent, and the problem with the talent is it's been playing with each other for so long, and the new talent that they have there are guys who are so good at like being the Robin to the Batmans. Like Bruce Brown and KCP are perfect Robins to the Batmans. Like Jamal Murray and Jokic are Batmans. And KCP and Bruce Brown are Robins. Aaron Gordon is probably a villain, to be honest with you. He's probably a Joker out there. And Michael Porter Jr. is... he's probably Catwoman. Just here and there every once in a while.
Well, you got that wrong because there can only be one Batman. There can only be one Robin. All right.
So in one universe, but this is a multiverse we're talking about here. We just watched a Spider-Man movie with 3 Spider-Mans.
Jokic is definitely Batman. Robin's definitely Murray. I would say KCP is probably Alfred. Just, working, doing all the little things, here and there. And then everyone else we don't care about. So, but I feel like in terms of talent, if you look at Celtics, between the teams Miami beat, Bucks, Celtics, Knicks, and now they're coming up against the Nuggets. I feel like talent-wise, like the Bucks and Celtics are better than the Nuggets. So I don't want to hear about they have so much more talent because
the Bucks were hurt, man. They were hurting.
The guy was hurt and he comes back and put up a triple-double and still loses.
Well, that's because it was easy to put up a triple-double because Bam is irrelevant and trash.
Okay,
he's been irrelevant and trash this postseason.
And then he comes back the second game from being injured and puts up like 36 and still loses.
Because it's easy to get around Bam, man.
Oh, so now it's easy. Okay,
it's easy, man. Jokic is going to drop 53 times.
And then the team that had 2 All-NBA guys, one on the first team, another one on the second team, like 2 guys on the all-defensive team, the former defensive player of the year, the 6th man of the year, they had all the accolades and all the awards and all that. And they just lost in 7. So I think we can safely say that, hey, talent isn't everything. Although the Nuggets, I feel like, are better coached than Bucks.
More chemistry.
Yeah, their coaching's better, chemistry's better. So I feel like it won't be the same scenario where if the Nuggets come out cold and shoot 0 for 12, trust me, they're not going to keep shooting threes. They're probably going to try to get the ball in the post and get easy buckets. So Miami has to be ready for like those good adjustments because it's like going to be the first coach that actually knows how to make adjustments and whatnot.
Yeah, because beating the Knicks is not very hard.
Yeah. I feel like both teams will have problems, though. I don't, for me, in terms of Miami, like the person I don't trust is easily Bam. Like Bam could easily just fade, be a no-show again in the finals. But also on the Nuggets, I don't trust, and this is, our buddies when we talk in either the group chat or even on Xbox Live and the Xbox parties. Like one thing that we've noticed is like for the Nuggets, if one guy gets hot, they just ride that guy until they get cold. And then once that guy gets cold, everyone else is cold because they've just been feeding that guy. So that's my one thing I don't like about the Nuggets is, yeah, they'll ride Murray, they'll ride Jokic, they'll ride KCP if they're hot. And then once they go cold, it's like their whole flow is cold, and then they have trouble starting the engine again. That's how like the Lakers almost got back into like every single game. If you watch closely, I don't know if that's something you've noticed as well.
Oh no, I'm just putting $100 on Nuggets in 7. I'm sorry, Nuggets in 5.
Okay.
I'm just
Well,
kidding.
I hope
I'm
you
just talking out
have
my ass.
hope you have some type of like insurance token so you can get your money back because that ain't happening. But yeah, I feel like they could easily go cold, and then they have the same, almost the same like the Celtics, where they go cold and they can't get nothing going. But I don't know. That's like the one weird kind of flaw I see in them.
I see it. I mean, I understand that, but there's so many teams that kind of play that way. And to be honest with you, we're critiquing it, but they made it to the NBA Finals quicker than any other team so far. I mean, it was only the Heat, but they completely wiped the floor with the Lakers. Um, and the biggest difference, I think, between the Lakers and the Heat is the Lakers actually had a big man to compete with the big man of the Nuggets. Like, Anthony Davis was outscoring for the most part Jokic every game. Maybe not getting more rebounds, but comparatively getting as many rebounds as Jokic. Only thing Jokic was beating him in every night was assists, but I mean that's just going to happen every single time. Jokic is going to beat Anthony Davis in assists. That's just a no-brainer. But for the most part, Anthony Davis did, except for the last game, he did basically everything he was supposed to against Jokic. They had LeBron James, and he had a monster game forward to try to save the cause. And not even the GOAT having a monster game 4 matters. Like, I think the Nuggets, everything that was thrown at them. I mean, the Nuggets took care of the Suns, who, for the most part, are like a cracked team. Like, they have way too much. They have way too many weapons. And for the most part, outside of just 2 games where they should have kind of won one, and they could have won it in 5 games. I mean, the Nuggets handled every single person, and the Heat, outside of the Knicks, they took their time with their play.
They beat the Bucks in 5, beat the Knicks in 6. They probably should have beat the Knicks in 5. What are you
Meh.
talking? They almost beat the Knicks without Jimmy Butler.
We don't count the Bucks, bro.
Okay. So this is how we're gonna do this. Okay.
Bucks are a broken team.
Okay. So we broke their will, and we're just gonna let that slide. Okay.
Uh-huh.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I have Heat, and I'm gonna go Heat in 7 just to be safe. Lawrence has Nuggets in 5. We'll see. Game 1 is Thursday. Game 2 Sunday. Game 3 Wednesday. Game 4 I think is like not this Saturday but next Saturday. So it's pretty much like every 3 days. So make sure you watch the finals. It's going to be the last probably 2 weeks of basketball for a while. So make sure it's going to be the last men's basketball for a while. So make sure you watch the finals. Coming up next, we are going to finish our NFL Way Too Early Power Rankings little mini series. We will finish the rest of our list coming up next. Time to hash out the last little bit of our NFL Way Too Early Power Rankings. We have the 21st team all the way to the end of the pack at 32. I'm going to kick it off to Lawrence to start this one first. Just give me the last bunch of the list, because I feel like at this point most of these teams are mostly preference, I feel like.
Well, I'll make a disclosure. Outside of the bottom 7, I actually tried. The bottom 7 I just wrote in a random order outside the bottom 3. That's just because I don't think any of the teams in the bottom 7 are any good at all. I think they're absolute garbage. There is one team in there that might be a little biasly down there. And that's just fair. All NFC South teams hate this one team with a burning passion. So I mean, for the most part, and no matter what, I'll always say they can kick rocks and cry. I don't care. Um, they're city stupid anyways. So we'll start we'll start it off with number 21. I have it the Denver Broncos. I think the Broncos have an easy ability to quite possibly make the top 15. I think the Broncos are going to be one of those teams. Shockingly, is going to be top 10 at the beginning of the season. Everyone's going to oversell. I mean, no, I'm sorry, overbuy the Broncos early. I think they'll level out and they'll be like middle of the pack. But until I see some actual promise and some things get put together, I'm going to keep them here at 21. Um, Trust me, I think they're good. Everyone thought when Russell Wilson came to the Broncos, they were going to be a good team. I think it's arguably arguable. I think it's arguably arguable to say that most of the problems came from the head coach. Because when they canned his ass, the last 3 games of the season, Russell Wilson played 20 times better. So now he has Sean Payton as his head coach. Probably a top 5 coach in the NFL currently. So you got a top 5 coach, so you're never going to lose the coaching battle. Defense, they lost a couple pieces, but nothing really extreme or crazy. So defensively, still strong. Still. I mean, secondary wise, extremely strong. But other than that, I mean, super strong defense for the most part. I mean, your wide receiver duo still is Courtland Sutton. What's the other boy's name?
Judy.
Yeah. I mean, other than Judy and Courtland Sutton, I mean, that's a great duo to have. Kind of dropped the ball a little too often, but that was just one season with the new quarterback trying to get the grasp for the game and everything. And, I mean, I think the Broncos have a relatively easy path. I mean, yes, they have the Chiefs in their conference, but, I mean, I'm going to be quite honest with you. The Chiefs have no firepower outside of Kelsey on the wide receiving core. So the secondary of the Broncos should take full custody of that game at home. If they want to have any kind of like a place in this conference, any place in this division, you got to beat the Chiefs at home. And with that secondary, you can beat the Chiefs at home. You know, it's your home field advantage. You're a mile high stadium, so you have the advantage of everyone not being conditioned for your field. If you lose an Arrowhead, damn, you lost an Arrowhead. That sucks. I mean, it's okay. The Chargers, they're a horrible. Well, they're a horrible road team and they're a horrible home team because they don't have home fans. So you should be able to take one game against the Chargers as well. And then the other team is the Raiders, who arguably you should be able to take one game from them as well. So you should go 3-3 minimum in your division. And outside of that, you finish bottom of your table. You finish bottom of the AFC. So you're going to have the easy scout. You're going to have the easy way through. You're playing number 4 seeds the whole time. And some of the number 4 seeds are pretty bad. I mean, you're going to play the Texans. They're just a young team that doesn't have all the pieces together, so they're going to struggle. The Browns aren't anything crazy, so the Broncos have an easy path to get, make some noise. Number 22, I put the Titans.
Okay.
I just think, Derrick Henry's going to get himself enough wins to keep his team below the poverty line. We'll just say poverty line, the trash line. Derrick Henry's going to run the ball enough times, and I think by midseason we're going to see either Will Levis, and it was sound crazy. You're going to see Will Levis take over the reins of the team. I'm not going to, hate on the quarterback from last year, but you could tell that coming from Liberty, it was a big jump in terms of who he actually has to play. I mean, he couldn't make a pass, and you need to let him have some more time to develop and grow. And so obviously 1 year is probably not going to cut it. So Malik Willis just needs, he just needs some more time to discover what kind of quarterback he wants to be. And I think the Titans are a good team to do it with because for the most part, in that second unit, you have a lot of time to try to figure yourself out and figure out what you want to do. And knowing that Ryan Tannehill has an injury history, maybe Will Levis gets hurt, and you can make some noise, and it's nice when you can, come in there as a backup, and you got a running back like Derrick Henry to help you out. So you're not even completely reliant on throwing the ball. You have Derrick Henry. So I think he's in a good place. Mike Vrabel's always going to have a good defense, even with mediocre talent. So I put the Titans at number 22. I think they're interchangeable with this team at 23, which I have the Commanders.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Commanders, as well as the Broncos, could be top 15 or somewhere around 15. I just think there's a lot of things going on in their team and their culture, a big shift. I think that's either going to aid them completely, in which they go into the season playing all the fourth ranked teams in the NFC, mind you, which there are some really bad ones. So they got the easy schedule comparatively. But I mean, for the most part, like, they had a really good division record last year. I mean, they beat the freaking Eagles, so they've proven that they can, beat teams. I think Ron Rivera makes sure that his team is always ready for every game. One knock on Ron Rivera is he either starts the game super good and he tails off at halftime, or he starts the game off really bad and it changes the team at halftime. He's never really been good at doing both, starting the game good and then changing the team at halftime. So I think that is something to keep in mind. Also, Sam Howell being the starting quarterback as of right now. We don't know how that's going to go. And you don't have Taylor Heineke to fall back on either. So at that point, it's kind of just good luck and see what happens. But, I mean, Sam Howell can't be so bad. And he'll be aided by some bad teams. And, Sam Howell did a really good job in college. So maybe he does have the accolades to actually make it happen. I mean, UNC was really good under his helm. Next, I have the Raiders. Strictly because, well, I didn't know who else to put here. You want to be honest with you? I'm still trying to figure out who I want to put, down at this bottom tier of the list. So I just threw the Raiders on here because, well, they need some love. I don't think they're the worst team. I don't think they're the best team. I think they have pieces. I think Jimmy Garoppolo will win a few games. I think they'll be competitive in every game. I think Josh Jacobs allows you to be competitive. Allows you to be a little bit more run-sided. But I just don't think the Raiders are outstanding in many categories. And defensively, they're not very sexy at all. So I'll just get them at 24. And at 25, I'll put the Packers. Kind of just because of home field advantage. You're playing in the freezing cold. So halfway through the season, every team doesn't want to play you. And you're fine with that because you can ride that wave at home very easily. So I just give the Packers a little bit of an edge. I don't think Jordan Love's anything great. I don't think the team's anything great. Defensively, they might be a tough opponent. I just think that offensively, they're going to struggle to put up points. And they're going to have a good defense that, keeps them in a game with a 21, 24, 17, 14 score. And the offense is just not going to score enough points, and I think that's going to be the main problem for the Packers. So that's why I'm having them down here. And then we'll just quickly run through these. I got 26. I have the Bears.
Okay.
I don't hate them. I don't love them. And they got DJ Moore, which I'm really sad about. DJ Moore should have been a part of this Panthers rise to glory. I think I would rather have DJ Moore than I would rather have Derek Brown. That's just my 2 cents. But I get it. Derek Brown, they're trying to make sure the defense is strong enough to keep Bryce Young in games, which, to be fair, that's a strong mindset. Like, if I get Bryce Young a chance to stay in a game with my defense, I ain't going to hate you for it. I just kind of feel bad for DJ Moore because he went from his first season with the Panthers having a good team to running out, a horrible team, and now he's going to another horrible team. I don't believe in Justin Fields. I think he's just the bootleg version of Lamar Jackson, with all the bad tendencies and all the bad traits. Like, he can't throw the ball for crap. So he just can run the ball, but he can't even run the ball as good as Lamar Jackson. The fact that this team has like 4 primetime games is absolutely stupid. I mean, that's just that's just stupid. They don't deserve but 2 max. The worst team in NFL, the team that's the most trash and ugliest and stupid looking team ever is at number 27. We got the Atlanta Falcons, absolute dog water crap of a franchise. Any NFC South team will say that the Falcons are absolute trash, dog water of a franchise. They are the scum of the earth and nobody likes them. Desmond Ritter is a guy out of Cincinnati. I think he's going to run into the same problem that Malik Willis ran into. This ain't like college, and he's going to get beat the hell up. I think they're going to fall back on. I'm pretty sure they have Heineke. I'm pretty sure they're going to fall on Heineke extremely early in the season, if not to start the season. And Heineke's going to get you a few wins, but Heineke's nothing special. And the fact that you don't have any real talent, wide receiver, to really, stretch out the ball and make it look sexy, There's nothing extremely, great about the Falcons. I mean, cool, you have a nice tight end, but if you look at his games, he never scores touchdowns. So, meh. That's all I got to say is meh. I don't think the Falcons are very good. Calvin Ridley gambled for a reason so that he could get off that team.
Okay.
Number 28, we got the Buccaneers. I was a Baker Mayfield fan until he read us into the ground and pummeled us straight down. Piece of poop he is. He's a good guy though. I have no bad words to say other than he's a piece of poop. But he got the short end of the stick, and he had to play during the Matt Rule era. And then when they changed over from Matt Rule, he never really got a shot. And to be fair, he wasn't better than PJ Walker anyway. So, we'll ride the PJ Walker train until we die. But the Buccaneers, I'm sorry to say, Leonard Fournette ain't the running back he used to be. He's a little bit tubby now. Your wide receivers, great. You have Baker Mayfield, who's going to get batted at the line of scrimmage 20 times a game. So you're never going to get them the ball. He's going to have to throw up lobs to Mike Evans and hope Mike Evans can just go up and get it. But then when you double team him with the safety, it's going to be all for none. I don't think the Buccaneers are all that sexy and good. Defensively, they've been torn apart. They've been ravaged by people just stealing their good talent. Guys wanting out of there. I don't think the Buccaneers are anything special. If they weren't so bad, I would have put them over the Falcons, but those scumbags get to go over a little bit higher. Number 29, we have the Rams. Okay, cool. You won a Super Bowl 2 years ago, but outside of Aaron Donald, you really, and I mean this quite honestly, outside of Cooper Kupp and Aaron Donald, you really don't have any pieces. You don't have any draft. You couldn't draft anyone because you gave up all your draft picks. You don't have any money because the money's tied in the same 6 guys. You've been ripped to shreds because everyone who was good on your team has gone to other teams so they can get that money. Defensively, they're going to stay in a game. They're good enough to stay in a game defensively. Offensively, it is a big drop-off from Cooper Kupp to, I think it's Tutu Atwell is like their number 2 and number 3 wide receiver.
I guess I have no clue.
There is such a huge drop-off in terms of wide receiver talent. And I get it. You think Matthew Stafford is going to save you, but he's kind of at the tail end of his career. He was beaten up a whole lot at Detroit, and I mean a whole lot. And your offensive line in the Rams is not good, so he's going to get beat up a whole lot more. And that's just my 2 cents. At number 30, the Colts. Actually, I'm going to change that. At 30, I have the Texans. I just decided to do a little throw in there. I think Anthony Richardson does worse than C.J. Stroud. And I give the edge to the Texans only because they have Will Anderson on the other side and the Colts have nobody. There's no one recognizable in that Colts defense. I think Darius Leonard's still playing there. He may or may not be. I might be crazy. Is Rakia's son still playing there? I can't even remember anymore. Um, there's no there's nothing exciting about the Colts team. I mean, I get the Pat McAfee show likes to hype them up so hard and everything, but there really isn't anything special or exciting about the team. So, I mean, I'll crap them all day and make them 31. I mean, at least the Texans, their defense, even when they were horrible at offense last year, kept them in games. Davis Mills being the quarterback, they still were in games. They were competitive most of the season. Lovie Smith had them win the last game of the season, so the Bears could have the first overall pick. I mean, the Texans are gonna win 5 games. The Colts are gonna win 5 games, maybe 4. And number 32, Cardinals.
Enough said.
I'm sorry, it's the Cardinals because Kyler Murray is not playing basically all season, and I
Yeah.
don't know who the number 2 is. Colt McCoy.
Colt McCoy. That's a bad man right there.
Yeah, he plays one game good and then he gets a concussion.
Oh man.
Malik Cunningham will be on the Cardinals by week 3.
Okay. Bold prediction right there. I'll take off where you started. So I think I'm gonna do a little disclaimer as well for mine. For teams 21 through 25, these are teams that, with a lot of help, have an outside chance of making the playoffs, but very, very not likely. And then pretty much from there on, 26 through 32, these are just basically the runt of the litter, the trash teams. These teams don't have a shot unless one or two of the power players in the division just choke and somehow they can win a couple of divisional games and miraculously win the division or something along those lines. So I'll kick it off. 21. Can you do something for me?
Oh,
I got the Broncos as well. I feel like Sean Payton will help the team out a lot because what they had last year, they had Nathaniel Hackett. He just was not it.
he couldn't hack it, bro.
There, as soon as his ass left, they automatically just started playing better. So I feel like Peyton's a huge step up. The defense is going to play even better. All my only concern is Russ. If he has like a little bit of magic, if Sierra can, just work her magic and make this man have some semblance of himself, so they can win at least like 9 or 10 games. That'll do it for me. I feel like they'll most likely maybe somewhat sneak into that last playoff spot if they have some help, but at 21 they might need a lot of help. So that's who I have, as well as you did. 22, I have the last member of the AFC North. I have the Steelers. For the Steelers, they under Mike Tomlin, they play very well. I don't think they've never had a losing record under him. So they've either been 500 or above. The division is tough this year. The Browns got better.
So you're saying this is his first losing season?
No, I feel like there's going to be another like tie in there somewhere. They're probably going to go like 8-1. I feel like Kenny Pickett, even with another year, Kenny Pickett won't be like good enough to get them over that hump. I feel like Deshaun Watson, I give the slight edge to in terms of who's going to perform better. But the Steelers, they're going to be competitive in every game. They're going to be above 500. But they're going to need help to get into the playoffs. So got them at 22. 23, I have your scum of the earth, the Falcons. The NFC South is a winnable division for anybody besides the Bucks.
No.
So if they can pull some upsets, if Bijan is just rookie of the year, if either Heineke or Riddler, whoever plays better between the two, if they can string some wins together, they can sneak their way in. 24, I got the Commanders. The Commanders, for what happened and what's transpired over the past couple of years, from Dan Snyder to Chase Young not performing up to standards, and he got hurt. Now this team is selling, and they got their new, Josh Harris is the new owner. So there's a lot of positive trends in like the past couple months. So I'm sort of projecting some positivity in terms of at least them being 500. But just like the Broncos, just like the Falcons, they're gonna need help uh, because that division's tough. You got the Eagles, who probably gonna win it. They only got better. The Cowgirls, they're gonna cowgirl and at least win 11 or 12 games. The Giants, as long as Saquon plays, they're gonna win 10 or 11. So it's gonna be tough, but if they can basically just have a repeat of last year, maybe sneak another game or two, you might see them in the playoffs. We shall see. And 25, my last of the long shot playoff teams, I have the Raiders. Yes, they lost Derek Carr, but they got Jimmy G, even though he failed his physical, 2 months ago. Hopefully he can come back from his foot surgery and compete. There's an outside chance that he might not come back from that surgery successfully, and they have the right to cut him and incur no loss. So we'll see if they have a backup plan at quarterback. But if Jimmy G comes back and they somehow play better than the Broncos, hey, you might see them in the playoffs. And like I said, 26 through 32, it's kind of the runt of the litter, so I'm just going to move through them very quickly. 26 have the Packers. You already said it. The weather is probably their best friend towards the back half of the season. They'll be able to sneak a couple games just because of the weather. No one wants to go to freaking Green Bay, Wisconsin and play in like freezing temperatures. It sucks. Titans, pretty much I would have had them lower, but I'm just betting on the fact that Derrick Henry can stay healthy through at least if he can give them 14, 15 games of very good play, the Titans won't be total ass. They'll be, 6, 7 games, maybe 8 if they can work some magic, but I think the writing's on the wall. They don't want Tannehill. Willis and Will Levis, they're both young quarterbacks who don't know what they're doing yet. And they've kind of lost all their offense, at least firepower besides Henry, and the defense, just a bunch of nobodies, like you said, that just happen to have a good scheme and a good coach. So it's not looking too good for them. The Bears Nation, I got them at 28. I think Justin Fields is going to have to keep on scrambling and keep on running because just drafting one lineman's not going to save you, buddy. So be prepared to run some more this year. He probably set the record again for most yards ran on the field because that man was running for his life every single game, and I expect more of the same. It just might be that who they got. Oh, they got DJ Moore, so he has at least one competent receiver. So maybe he can get one receiver over 1,000 yards, and he'll. I don't know. Maybe he'll run less. I don't know. We'll see. It'll be a tough call for me. 29 Colts. I'm just banking on the fact that Richardson. I don't know. I don't. Excuse me. I'm not sold on the fact he's going to start. So Minshew, if Gardner Minshew can work some Gardner Minshew magic, and Jonathan Taylor, if he can stay healthy and not mess up everyone's first pick overall in fantasy again, maybe they won't be near the bottom like the Cardinals or Texans. But for right now, they're at 29. Pick or team 30, I have the Bucks. And this is only because I saw the video of Baker and what's that kid's name? Who's there? The other. Who's the kid that's fighting Baker for the starting spot? I forgot his name.
Kyle Trask.
Yeah, I saw their videos today of OTAs, voluntary OTAs, and dear Lord, it's gonna be the battle of the bums competing for the starting job. I mean, dear Lord, they both just. I know it's over air, no defenders, but they look like they just can't throw the ball, man. It's just looked embarrassing. Like
Baker can indeed not throw the ball.
I have no faith in the Bucks. Like honestly, they could be worse than the Cardinals, but the Cardinals were just so bad last year without Kyler. It's just a tough call for me. So they're 30, 31 of the Texans. The Texans messed up by trading their picks. They're gonna be bad this year. Like honestly, the Texans are probably gonna be the second worst team. And then the 32 of the Cardinals, they're pretty much nothing without Kyler. Kyler is at least 8 wins, 7 to 8 wins. So without him, you have Colt McCoy, who's going to get knocked out most likely after the first game or two, and I don't know who's left after that. So the Cardinals are just they're in tank mode. They're going to tank for one more year, and then hopefully a year from now, Kyler will be back, and they'll have a revamped team overall because they have a lot of holes to plug. So
they have David Blau and Jeff Driscoll on the team currently.
See, so like if McCoy gets knocked out or something happens, knock on wood, I hope that doesn't happen, but it's just not looking good. Colt McCoy has like 1 or 2 wins in him. Like honestly, like that's not a stretch to say he has like 1, maybe 2 wins in him. He's been around for a while.
Oh yeah, he always does really, 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 really good until he gets hurt. But the problem is he always gets hurt.
That's why I'm predicting very early injury, unfortunately. Almost like Tua, but more or less. But that's my list. Do you have any outstanding comments about both our lists? How we see if things like what's like the one X factor or one team that you think could really make a surprise, like based off of where you have them ranked?
Of all the teams, all of them?
Yeah. Since we're done?
Broncos. Biasly, Carolina.
Okay.
I got Broncos. I just think the Broncos are in the most favorable spot. I mean, I think the Chiefs are gonna heavily regress this season, and that's nothing on them. It's just that like what happened with the Patriots doesn't happen. Like, I think we're accustomed to seeing that. Like the Patriots were good for like 12 years. Like they were good. Teams normally aren't good for like more than 4 or 5 years. The Chiefs have kind of run its course, and I'm not even gonna knock on wood, but like Patrick Mahomes has gotten a little bit more injury prone towards the end so far. There comes a time, even Tom Brady got hurt. There comes a time where a guy just gets that one good injury. This might be Patrick Mahomes' time. He gets a good injury where he's just out of it for a season. They don't have, weapons on that offense, for a guy to come in and play backup to like do a whole lot lift. And I don't think you can be mad at the Chiefs if that happens because, I mean, they've been to what? They've won 2 Super Bowls and they've been to 3. So you had your fun. Like you had a good run. It's okay to have like a bad season. And I think this is a season that the Chiefs, probably take a step back because the only weapon they truly, truly have on that offense is Kelsey. And the way that teams are getting more advanced now in the linebacking core, where they're having safeties play linebacker now. I mean, safeties can cover you. I mean, he might be a little challenging, but, there's, 12 plays a drive on a good drive. They're going to be able to cover him 10 times on that 12-play drive. So, I mean, those are pretty favorable odds instead of covering him 6 out of 12 times. But I just think the Broncos with the coach and the Chiefs probably regressing. That's just my 2 cents. And then the only other, particularly strong team in that division is the Chargers. The Chargers have been nothing but, a cock tease for 5, 6, 20 seasons now. They've always just been, oh yeah, they're so good, but then they don't do anything. They're kind of like the Cowboys, but without any kind of history to them. So, yeah. I mean, the Chargers are just that team that, like, oh yeah, they could do something. This is their year, but they never do anything. I don't know why. I don't know what it is about the Chargers. Maybe they should go back to San Diego so they can actually have fans, but they don't have a home field because there's more Ram fans than Charger fans. You get overpowered at home, so then you have away games all season, and that works in the favor of the Broncos. And that's why I think the Broncos are that one team that could make power moves from any position because they have that one division that's like it's defeatable. I mean, like, there's other teams that like I'm not high on Geno Smith, but the Seahawks could make a splash. But I'm just not high on Geno Smith. I think people figured him out a little bit. The Vikings are making a splash, but saying they're making a splash at 14, that doesn't sit well with me. That's not being spicy, to my opinion. I mean, the other teams I have down here that could do something, I got the Saints. But then why would I say the Saints when I think Carolina has a better chance than they do? But that's a little biased. But if Bryce Young can play decent, they're going to win 9 games if he plays decent. They'll win 9 games, and that's automatically playoffs. And no one, for the most part, expects Carolina to make the playoffs. So,
Okay. Yeah, I think for me, I think I already kind of said the Broncos have if things go right, if Sierra can work some magic on Russ, they have a good outside shot. I think for me, the X Factor team, the team I'm kind of closely watching this year is going to be the Saints. I feel like to a lesser extent because the Jets defense I feel like is going to be dominant this year, but the Saints like they were basically a quarterback away. I mean, the Red Rocket, he's just not that guy. Jameis is too busy doing what Jameis does, getting hurt and just coming up with I don't know dumb sayings on the on the sidelines. um, but they got Derek Carr, who's he's above average quarterback. They Calmeri, he's in some trouble. We'll see if he plays. I'm kind of banking on the fact that he can play. They also got they signed Jamal Williams from the Lions, and they drafted Kendre Miller from TCU. So they have some support for Derek Carr. If he starts to be Derek Carr and makes mistakes, they can fall back to the run game, get the ball out of his hands, try to chew some clock, try to, make us keep the mistakes to a minimum. And the division's winnable for anybody. So if I have to, watch out for one team, it's going to be the Saints. Over your Panthers, I'm sorry. Just slightly over your Panthers.
I'll also throw in the Commanders just because I think the Giants take a step back. And I think the Commanders do well at playing the Eagles and the Cowboys. And that maybe they can split both of those games in which they have a 4-2 record. I just think the Giants, I have them at 13. I just think there's a great. Now, if we're talking about teams at the top that we think can have a horrible season, I mean, I'll rattle off a few. I got the Giants at 13. I think they could easily be bottom 10 team because I'm not sold on them at all. They don't have any really great offensive talent. You just paid your quarterback a crap ton of money. Well, not a crap ton. You paid him a good chunk change for something that we don't even know if he's truly good or not yet. There's no backups behind him, so if he gets hurt, then the backups coming in there with pretty much no weapons. And then your best player is Saquon Barkley, who has been previously known to get hurt. So I think the Giants are a team that can easily, it's sitting in the top 13, that can do horribly. And then another one that I put really high that I think could end up doing horribly. And when I see this team does end up doing horribly, I pretty much mean that they don't win the division. And that would be the Bills.
Same here.
I think that I have an under 2. But I mean, if they make the playoffs, that's cool. But they're a team that's set up to win a division. So them doing horribly this season is losing the division. The Jets are sitting at 7 and easily could win that division if certain cards fall right. Like the Bills get a couple of injuries at an impromptu time when they have a hard stretch of the season. And, the Jets stay relatively healthy enough, and the Patriots would love to play the Bills hard, and the Dolphins are going to play the Bills hard because they've been beating them up for the last couple of years. So there's just certain those are the two teams I think I have a little high, and that's why I'll probably throw the Commanders back in here because I think they have a chance to make the playoffs again. Because I just think the Giants take a huge step back because there's too many gaping holes on a team that just seemed like they were a few years too early last year, and it proved in the playoffs when they got absolutely creamed. That I think they could come back down to earth on a season like this.
Yeah, I'm with you with the Bills. I feel like I have them at 5. Obviously, they're a team that's built to win now. Like, if you look at their team, you could say there's a chance they can make Super Bowl. But a disappointing season for them is not winning that division and kind of scraping by, getting to the wild card, which could easily happen. I feel like the division's not like you can't just beat up on everybody now. Like the Dolphins are legit this year. The Jets they're literally legit. Like they're Super Bowl contenders in my eyes. And the Patriots are going to be the Patriots. They're going to want to play you. They're going to play you hard. When you go to Foxborough, it's going to be hard to, win a game in there. So, and of course, Josh Allen's going to do Josh Allen things. I always say this. Josh Allen is a front runner. They want him to win MVP so bad, but Josh Allen always does just Josh Allen things, such as turn the ball over in timely manner. He'll make a dumb read. He'll try to do everything by himself. He just does just things that just like puzzle, have you puzzled, have you scratching your head. That's why I just call him Josh Allen things. So very, very possible.
I feel it. Yeah, I agree. Because making the playoffs doesn't mean crap to the Bills. It's winning the division or none. And honestly, it's like it kind of feels like a loss if you don't even win the number 1 seed. I mean, in my opinion, your only real competition is the Bengals for that number 1 seed in the playoffs. I don't think the Chiefs. I think they're going to be a top 4. I think they're going to be like third caliber team, the third best team. If they stay healthy, I think they're still best shot scenario is 3rd or borderline 4. Because I think the one problem with the Chiefs is their schedule is just so tough, and the Jaguars' schedule is so easy. And I think the Jaguars can easily get 3rd seed just because they played an easier schedule than the Chiefs, putting the Chiefs at the lowest of the totem pole in terms of not first round, but home field advantage first round. And then them getting the lesser end of the stick the rest of the way through. But yeah, I think another way the Bills lose is they don't win the whole AFC. Because the one problem with the Bills is they've always looked like they're so playing the big teams. They always look like they get a little lost. Like the big important teams, they look like they just get a little lost. So, like when they play the Chiefs, outside of one time where they lost it, in 13 seconds, they haven't looked, dominant. The Bengals just seem always to have everyone's number in those top few teams in terms of Bills, Chiefs, the ones that have been steadily in the top of the AFC. The Bengals have seemed to always have their number. So yeah, I just think this is a really big year for the Bills, and there really is no other team that has this much weight on them, and they have no money to try to like fix the team up throughout the season either. It's like this is all you get unless you try to trade a piece for another piece, and there's only a few pieces on the team that someone would be willing to take from you. I mean, unless you're willing to give up Von Miller, there's not a lot of people on this team that people would be willing to give up something for.
Yeah, it's not looking good for them in terms of moves they could make, but they could make a move for a person that we're going to talk about coming up next in our rapid fire. So stay tuned. Good question. We're back, y'all. Time to enter the rapid fire. First up for tonight, we have one of our vacancies have been filled, or actually 2, but probably the most prominent coaching figure that just signed to a team. Nick Nurse has agreed to terms to coach Joel Embiid in the Philadelphia 76ers. So Lawrence, I'm gonna pass it off to you first. How do you feel about Nick Nurse and this meetup combo with Joel Embiid? How will they fare next season?
I think they're going to be the same as they were this season. Quite honestly, I think they will. I don't think the coaching was the problem. I think it was star players and star moments just didn't show up, and we blame the coach for that. Like if the coach can, as if he can do anything but get the team prepared. I think it's outside of that. It's like players to get the players ready on the court and get themselves ready to play the game. And it just seemed like that was something that they did not do, and they decided to blame the coach or use the coach as a cop out. And that's fine. That's how you want to be, but I don't think that's how I would be in that certain case for that one. And just looking at it, like he's gonna get a team in which he doesn't know what the goal or what the purpose of the team is. It's to win a title, but we don't know what pieces they have because we're basically a whole season away or a whole off season away. And Harden's probably gone, and they're not gonna be able really to afford anyone else because some of their lesser role players are going to get big money soon. So who are they going to be able to get to pay? I think the first 20 games are going to be the biggest tell of his impact of the team he'll lead forward. I think it will either be him asking to gut the team after 10 games and try to rebuild it the way he wants it, or trying to make something work that possibly might not work. But I think at this point, it's fair to say they kind of need to move off Tobias Harris a little bit and try to repiece around Embiid. And I think Nurse is probably one of the better guys to do that because for some reason he got the most out of Kawhi Leonard, and no one else has really made the most out of Kawhi Leonard for the last couple seasons.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like it's a good hire. I feel like it's a better, fit than Mike Budenholzer or Monty or any other of the people that were, final candidates. I feel like Nick Nurse will get the best of Joel, even though if you guys have been following for the past couple of years, they've kind of had like a little beef going on about, Joel says Nick Nurse cries too much about not getting fouls and this and that, and Nick Nurse has sent shots back at Joel. But I feel like it'll be a good marriage for both sides. Obviously, the Doc Rivers firing wasn't fair, but it was done to appease James Harden. They trying to get him to stay. Unfortunately, all signs are pointing to him leaving, potentially going back to Houston, which let's just say how it is a dumbass move. Why are you going back there to be with a crap team? If all you wanted to do was party and go to a strip club, all you have to do is ask, because Doc let you do it. So I'm pretty sure Nick Nurse will let you do it too. So it doesn't make any sense there. But yeah, we'll see how Nick Nurse does. This hiring's before the draft, so I think they might have a pick. They might not, but if they do, he'll be involved with Daryl Morey. See how this team is going to look forward, because they're going to lose Harden, so they're going to have a little money to play with, but it's not going to be a lot to obviously go out and get another big fish. So we'll see if he can get the best out of Joel, because he definitely did with Kawhi, like you said. Moving on, we have two Florida teams in both NHL and NBA in the respective finals for both sports. We have the Florida Panthers and the Miami Heat in the finals, and the Panthers are in the Stanley Cup Finals. So, Lawrence, can you give me a preview of the Panthers and their chances of winning the Stanley Cup?
I think they have higher chances of winning the Stanley Cup than the Heat do. Go to FanDuel Sportsbook right now, and you look at those odds. The Vegas Knights are only at -135, and I think the Florida Panthers are at a +120. You look at the Miami Heat, though, they're going to be a plus 300 to win the. There's I think they're giving the Florida Panthers a little bit more of an edge, and that's just because for the most part, Florida just beat up everybody, and their goalkeeper is outstanding. I mean, gosh darn, he has looked amazing this postseason. And you can't say the same for the Vegas goalkeepers. They just look middle of the pack. They look okay. I mean, against the Stars, they were hit and miss. But when it mattered most in the game 6, 0 goals allowed, and that allowed them to rack up a 6-0 win over the Dallas Stars. I think not Miami. I think Florida's sweeping Carolina says a whole lot about the team, though. But it also says a lot about Carolina. Like, it's unfortunate they lost like 3 guys in the first game to injury. And then you never really got to see them move past it because 2 of the guys were starters, kind of important starters. And an unspoken thing is like how important like a center is to your team, like the guy who's constantly floating around the centerpiece. Most of the time he's your captain. And for the most part, Florida is just they're kind of like the Pittsburgh Steelers, and then like the bend don't break, like that whole division. To be honest, growing up as a kid, it was the Steelers and the Ravens. They were okay with bending, but they never broke. The same with the Patriots, bend but don't break. I mean, that's just how they play. They bend around the goal, but they just don't let you break through it. And that's just kind of how you play, and that allows your goalkeeper to have a good, strong goal save percentage. So I still give the edge to the Vegas Knights, who were founded 3 years ago and made the Stanley Cup the same year they were created. This is just their swan song back to the Stanley Cup. I think this time it's theirs for the taking because arguably they could have won it a few years ago if they just had a few more pieces. And Florida probably won't be back there next year, but the Knights definitely probably won't be back there next year. So they kind of just have to go for it.
Okay. We'll see if both Miami teams can pull off the double and both win a championship and bring them both back to South Florida. But we shall see in maybe a week or two. And last for the rapid fire for tonight, we have, I'm sure you all have heard, DeAndre Hopkins has been released by the Cardinals. No one wanted to take on that massive salary that he still had left on his deal. So they just took the $22 million dead cap hit, and now he is a free agent. So Lawrence, where are some potential landing spots for Hopkins, and what's the ideal team that he should go to in your eyes?
In my opinion, he should go to a team that has a lot of cap space. But a lot of those teams have rookie quarterbacks, and he was on a podcast that said he was not going to join a team with a rookie quarterback. So he can go kick rocks at that point. But let's see, the teams with the most cap without. The teams with all the money are teams that he probably doesn't want to play for. I mean, everyone's been saying he's going to go to the Eagles. He's going to go to the Cowboys. He's going to go. He's going to go to the Bills. He's going to go to the Chiefs. I mean, the Bills and the Chiefs have negative cap space, so they literally cannot take him. I don't know how they're going to work around that. Cowboys have they have some money, but they don't have a whole lot of money. And the problem with that is they're going to have to try to work someone's contract around making that money, which I don't know who's going to want to do that. But then a lot of the guys who have money, like the top teams. Well, he just left the Cardinals, so he ain't gonna go back there. Like some teams that can afford him, like the 49ers, he doesn't fit. They already have too many weapons. In my opinion, and I said this in our group chat, it'd be foolish of him not to go to the Ravens. They don't have the most money, but they can do kind of like a 2 year or a single year, but a prove it deal. Like, hey, come here, prove it. We'll give you a bunch of incentive money. We really just want to win a title, and if you do this with us right now, or you get us really far next year, like you're getting the bag again. Like you're getting the absolute most. You're getting what you did to go join the Cardinals. Like you're getting the absolute most. Um, but I just think him thinking he's gonna get the absolute most straight up is unreasonable, and that's why nobody wanted to trade for him, even though everyone knew they were desperate, trying to get rid of him. But they knew that like nobody wanted to pay him that money because he had had some trouble with PEDs. He has been getting hurt a little bit. Just a little couple factors coming in there. He is being a little bit of a diva. Nobody wants to bring a diva into a locker room. There's just tiny little factors that are coming, popping up. Like, I don't need that. I don't need that in my headspace. So I just think certain teams are good for it, like on a prove it deal. Like the Ravens are a great team, like on a prove it deal. And some people might ask, like, what does he have to prove? Well, I guess the proving part is, can you still do this at a high enough level that you deserve to get paid extremely high, kind of thing? Because when you're on the field, we know you can do it. But are you going to miss 6 games again due to drugs? Are you going to miss 6 games again due to injury? And now your claims about like you don't want to play with a rookie quarterback. I mean, that's fine to say and everything, but he's like, I already did that. I don't need to do that again. I mean, that was run rookie. That's not all rookies, and not all rookies are built like Kyler Murray. And if that's the rookie quarterback you're complaining about, like, come on, dude. How much do you really have to complain about? Because so far, all I've seen is Kyler Murray. He wins. He might not be the best quarterback out there, but he wins games. You were consistently winning games, so with or without you. So
Yeah, I think it's tough. I think on that same podcast, he laid out his three conditions, right? He needs a great quarterback, needs a great GM front office, and needs a team with a great defense. So he's already kind of limiting where he's trying to go. Basically, he's putting a box on the top teams, right? The Bills, the Chiefs, the Eagles, the Cowboys, you name, like the Jets, like he's basically put himself in the box. And like you said, like all those teams don't have cap space besides the Jets, but the Jets have already brought in a couple guys. They already have uh their guy Garrett Wilson from last year. Wasn't he like offensive rookie of the year? They have Randall Cobb. They have uh what's the other kid? Alan Lazard. They have the running back that got hurt, but he's gonna come back. Forgot his name. So they have the weapons. They have cap space. It says right here they have $21 million in effective cap. To me, it's like a wishful thinking. Like they wanted OBJ, but OBJ ultimately decided to go play with Lamar. So if the Jets want to go back down that route, they could, but I just don't see it happening. Um, a team that I haven't heard people say a lot. It's kind of been under the radar, but I feel like the Lions are like a sleeper team to watch out for. I feel like Jared Goff, he'll have another good season. I'm not saying he'll have a great season, but he'll have a good enough season, and he's a good enough quarterback to get Hopkins the ball, and he wouldn't be like arguably like Hopkins wouldn't be number one. Like Amon St. Brown is probably gonna be number one. You won't be double covered as much. You'll see less attention. It just makes sense. And then Jameson Williams is going to come back after his gambling suspension, which I think is like 8 games. So it kind of makes sense to go to the Lions. Um, I'm with you. The Ravens is probably the best bet. They have OBJ, they have Zay Flowers, they have Bateman. All these guys, like you can't say there's a definitive number one anywhere. You can't even say there's the definitive number two. So work something out with them. Play for maybe not. I wouldn't call it a prove it deal, but get the same contract as OBJ, maybe a little bit more. You probably could garner a little bit more. Get somebody on that team to rework their contract. Because right now the Ravens only have about $9 million. If you can get somebody to squeeze out a couple more million out their contract, sign him for somewhere in the teens of millions of dollars. I feel like that'll be a good fit. But everyone else on his basically boxed in list, the Chiefs, the Bills, the Eagles, they don't have the money, and fit wise, it doesn't make sense besides the Chiefs. Basically, you're asking the Chiefs to push back Mahomes' money further down the line, which they're already about to reconfigure his contract probably this offseason, if not next offseason. So it's kind of just like adding to that problem. So he's kind of just not screwed, but he's kind of really just in the box, don't you think?
Yeah, I think he made too many little boxes that had to be checked. Like you said, the Lions, but okay, but what do we define as a good defense? Because the Lions last season were not a good defense.
Oh, they're
But
horrible.
like that's a good team to go play for because
Yeah.
there's only one other really really great wide receiver on that team other than Jameson Williams, who will be out for a little bit. But I mean you have Amon-Ra St. Brown, so it's not even like you have a scrub near you or anything. Um, and then is considered a young quarterback? I mean, another good team is Jacksonville, but pretty confident Trevor Lawrence is the same age as Kyler Murray in terms of how long he's been in the league. And you just left Kyler Murray, and one of the reasons why he was too young of a quarterback. So, I mean, Trevor Lawrence is too young. But then he did say on that podcast that, there's that boy in L.A., Herbie. He's pretty good. Well, one, they didn't want to pay Eckler. I would have paid Eckler before I paid you because Eckler is pretty freaking important on that offense. And they decided to make him get more incentive money. And maybe that's something he doesn't want to do, but I'm pretty sure Herbert is the same era as Trevor Lawrence, Kyler Murray. So you get what I'm seeing here? Like, he's got a lot of standards, but he's not abiding by these standards in what he says.
No, so we'll see. We'll see how long this drags out. I feel like he probably won't get signed until probably like before training camp. I mean, OTAs and mini camp is probably gonna be gone before he gets signed. I don't feel like it's gonna happen imminent. Do you?
No, I think he is a late addition, probably right before the preseason kind of thing.
Yeah, great talent, but as we've said, too many boxes have to be checked to please this man. So we'll see if he settles or if some team out there will settle for his pretty much demands at this point. But yeah, this is the end of rapid fire. So we are at the end of episode 13 of the MTL Sports Podcast. Lawrence, do you have any closing thoughts before we head on out for today?
No, I don't really have too many. I just think that I think we're in for a good NFL season. I think the XFL was a fun ride. I haven't really got into the USFL, but I'm really enjoying talking about the NFL. It's a little early to be talking about. I'm trying to make lists and everything, but it's kind of entertaining. Just to fall back on what we might see in a couple months, and who's going to make some moves, who's going to go where. I do think there's a few free agents that are still viable, that can make splashes. I know a lot of people say that like, oh, all the good free agents are already gone, but no, there's still a few good free agents out there. that haven't been signed yet. So most of them are on the defensive side. But I mean, outside of that, I mean, who's to say what this season has in store for us in terms of the current now. Anyone has some time, take that time to watch the Gael Monfils comeback in the French Open today. I'm not going to say anything, but I did have some money on some Gael Monfils. I was pretty heartbroken. I was watching it, and he went down. He was up 2-1. Then he dropped the fourth game 6-1, and he was down 4-1. And the fifth set, it looked very bleak. And then he just hit this beautiful shot, and it just created an explosion. And he won the set 7-5. He's a Frenchman, so at the French Open, he's making a huge splash. This is probably his final ride. He's got a kid soon on the way. His wife plays tennis as well, but he's kind of the end of an era of a guy who never won a Grand Slam, but he was always like a crowd favorite. Always one of my favorites as a kid. I watched a lot of tennis. I played tennis. You knew Gael Monfils was never an easy out, but you never expected him to go really far. But he made it a lot further than most people ever did in Grand Slams. So it was spectacular to watch him create some magic today. And make me some money at the last moment because, I turned it off and it was 4-1. I didn't turn it off. I just put my phone in my pocket and just started walking around. And then I just kind of heard, a little bit of spark. And then I started looking at my phone. I saw the shot. And I watched the wave ride.
Okay, a little tennis bit for you guys. Nothing from me. Just be ready for NBA Finals. Starts Thursday. I want to say it again. Miami versus Denver. We'll see who wins the first game. But yeah, this is the end of episode 13. Thank you guys for tuning in and watching. If you're watching on YouTube, drop a like, subscribe. If you're listening on Spotify, thank you. We love it. We love and appreciate the support. And with that, I think we're out. So until next time, peace.
Bye. Whip up my appetite.